All right, guys, thank you for taking time out of your Saturday, um, especially so abruptly. But I wanted to kind of introduce what it is that I've been doing and the team uh, that I do it with. Right, a little bit about who we are, what we do. But real quick, I'd like to talk about why we do it. We have found that the conventional wisdom that is being taught out there or not taught, it needs some re-education. And we realized that there was a gap for many people. So I challenge you to take a look at your life, personally, whatever that means to you, that wherever you feel that there's a lack or a need, and we decided
Hey,
that we could fill that.
sure, Nate, and we'll kind of tag team on this.
Yep.
And again, my name is Brian Daly. If we haven't met yet, we're going to give you the Reader's Digest version on the stuff that we're doing that we're excited about. Maybe it's for you, maybe not, but I think that you'll come away from this presentation learning probably new things that aren't being taught in school. You know, our background, you know, who our affiliations are with, you know, many different companies in the financial world. And basically our purpose is innovative ways to save, make, and manage money, ways that are not taught in school, right? The conventional wisdom, unfortunately, is broken. You know, that you can get that from the fact of Social Security, you know, starting out age 100 Americans by age 65, 36 will be dead, 54 dead broke, 5 still working, 4 financially secure, and 1 wealthy. That's a 95% failure rate in America, one of the wealthiest nations in the world. Why is it that our citizens are retiring dead and dead broke, right? It has a lot to do with the things that we're not taught, the information, the education. And if you look at the typical household budget, very little is left over for savings. You know, what's not consumed in taxes and mortgages and debt, you know, is in lifestyle. So what we do is we show folks how to redirect money they're already spending and to do it more effectively and more efficiently. And the one on the left is the before picture, right? A lot of money going to interest and taxes and debt and insurance, and we show folks ways to get double duty dollars, more bang for their buck, which gives them a lot more to put into savings. Traditionally, what financial planners do and financial advisors do is they sit down and they say, let's take a look at your lifestyle. Stop playing so much golf and stop doing the things that you like to do and all that. We're saying we don't necessarily have to do that. We can find the money in other ways just by getting it more efficiently directed to not only increase your lifestyle, because if you look at this, lifestyle's increased as well. Reducing the taxes, the debt, and the interest are the big killers in most people's financial budget. Nate, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So as Brian was saying, you guys know we live in one of the most advantageous countries in the world. And, you know, people talk about the retirement crisis, the savings crisis, but in reality, what we have is, you know, we call it a debt crisis. Let's go ahead and take that word retirement and replace it with financial freedom, because why? What is retirement? What age do you retire at, right? There's no magical age where a fairy comes down and says, poof, you're retired. Financial freedom is really the name of the game. So, and what does that mean? That means when you have a certain amount of income coming in that will provide for the lifestyle that you want to live. And that can happen at any age. So the real issue here is not a debt crisis. We look at it as a spending crisis. This is really what we're here to do, is show you how to live a debt-free life. So imagine being debt-free in 9 years or less, including a 30-year mortgage, and have a big pile of money and a tax-free account without spending, that's right, without spending 1 penny more than you are right now. So we often ask people, do you know your exact debt-free date? And there's two sides. I usually get 2 answers. I don't know. Or the other side of it is, I don't think I'll ever be out of debt. And that's a tragic thing. And people ask, well, how does it work? Well, it's not magic, it's math. But in reality, if it doesn't matter how it works, if it doesn't work for you. So how does we find out if it works for you? As Brian said, what a financial planner typically will charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for, we do it for free. We provide you with a free, no obligation analysis. Long story short, this is what we do, right? Is we show people how to pay off all of their debt and build tax-free wealth with the same dollars that's getting them out of debt all at the same time. So people usually come up and they say, well, hey, I don't have any extra money. But let's be honest, there's one kind of money that doesn't exist, and that's extra money. So don't confuse the problem for the solution. So here's Todd and Gina. This is a typical example. We don't know when their debt-free date was, but as we can see here, they have a 30-year, they have a mortgage, an auto loan, an RV loan. We'll call it maybe even student loans, right? So they were on a 30-year plan, right? And we were able to get them out of debt in 7.8 years, but they continued paying on that 30-year plan, but they redirected their money towards retirement. So now they have $2.2 million projected for retirement. But then I want to bring your attention, very important here, is without spending any additional money each month. I like to call this the great bank fallacy. You know, we don't want to call it a lie, but it's a lie. Long story short. So this is a typical situation here, a 30-year mortgage at a 3.5 amortization schedule. Why do they call it 3.5%? I don't see 3.5 being charged 3.5% here anywhere. Matter of fact, in the first year, most people are being charged anywhere from 65 to 80%. I don't know about you, but that's a flat out lie. It's not exactly what you're being charged. So that's the idea. And the point is to be able to shift the interest rates, the money that you're spending, right? If we can show you, make you aware, we can educate you of the reality of what actually is happening here, then you can start to have the knowledge to have these things working for you.
And Nate, to dovetail on that, you know, a lot of people think, well, 3.5% mortgage, I'm doing pretty good, right? That's the conventional wisdom, the 30-year fixed rate, conventional 3.5%. That's pretty good. Well, they would be astounded to find out that in the early years, 60, 50, 40% of their payments are going to interest. How is that even possible? Well, it's a great deception being, unfortunately, most folks are living out that today as we speak. So these are some of the things that we show folks and wake them up to, that there's better and smarter ways to do things. So thank you, Nate. Turn it back to you.
Yeah, so compound interest, Albert Einstein calls it the eighth wonder of the world. He who earns it, he who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it. What does that mean? That means if you're not using it, it is definitely being used against you. So in your lifetime, right, what you want to find out is how many times can you get your money to double? And the way you do that is you take the number 72 and you divide it by the interest rate, right? And that'll give you how long it takes for your money to double. So let's look at some examples. 1%, right? Who's giving 1%? Banks? Not even. But if they were, it would take 72 years for your money to double. So we all know what banks are giving in interest rates. So how long do you think, if your money's sitting at a bank, it's going to take for your money to double? 2.3, 2 or 3%. What do you find in there? CDs, things like that. But car loans. So this thing, the same way as you're spending that money, every 12 years, the money that you're spending on a car could have or would have doubled. Also, then we have credit cards down here as well. So imagine, just to put that into perspective, that the amount of money that you're paying into a credit card, every 6 years, that money could be doubling in an account of your own. So let's talk about what banks do. So banks, they understand these principles. They don't actually do anything other than they take your money, right? And then they lend it back to you or lend it to somebody else, or they trade it on the foreign exchange market. The numbers actually is somewhere around every $400 that you put into a bank account, they turn it into 14,000, and then they flick you a nickel at the end of the year. So let's look at what it would take for $10,000 to, at 3%, how long would it take for it to double? 24 years. So at the end of 48 years, your money has doubled 2 times. Now, if you double the interest rate, it doesn't only double the amount of money, it's 4 times as money, the amount of money, because your money has had an opportunity to double that many more times. Now, the power of this here is let's see, if you double your money again, you don't only quadruple the money again, it's actually 64 more times than that $40,000. So the bank understands that, right? They give you your $40,000, they made $2.5 million on your money, and they don't even give you a toaster anymore. So let's look at the what we as you saw in the piece of the pie, right? The taxes will take up the biggest impact of the amount of money that you'll make in your lifetime. So to put it in perspective, what if you take $1 and you double it 20 times? How much money do you think you'll have, right? $1, $2, $4, $8, $1 million. $1 million. Now, let's go ahead and tax it every time it doubles. Let's do it at a 30% tax rate. You don't come up with $1 million, it's $40,000. We like to call that the $1 million mistake. So if you had $100,000 and you didn't know anything about anything, and I gave you the option to put your money on the red line or the green line, which line would you put your money on? The green line, right? It's more money. And it never goes backwards. As you can see here, the red line, every time that it dips down, the green line stays level. Well, what is the red line? The red line is the S&P 500, which is the broad spectrum of 500 of the largest stocks in the US. So most mutual funds, or where people have their money, whether it's a 401k, 403b, 457, you name it, it's in a mutual fund. And the job of a mutual fund is to outperform the red line. Well, the sad truth is that 95% of mutual funds do not outperform this red line. Now, we do see here that the red line almost touched the green line this past year, but unless you've been living under a rock, we know that there was almost a 30% drop here that people have experienced. So now let's, to make matters worse, right? You've put up all of the money, you've taken all the risk, right? You put your money on this roller coaster ride. You started out with $100,000 here. 10 years later, you're right back where you started. This is called the lost decade, and these happen every so often. Now, the mutual fund company, they have put up $0. They've taken zero risk, but now they get paid their rate, whether it goes up or down. On average, it's about 2.99%. So that 3% over a course of 10 years, that's $30,000. They made $30,000, and now you're worse off than you started. And as a matter of fact, so what is the green line then? The green line is really the question, and it's just like the 401k or 403b or 457 or any of these. What they really are is a tax code. Well, we utilize a tax code as well. It's called a 7702, and we use it in what we like to call our indexing products here. Now you can kind of see on these years, these down years, zero becomes your hero. You may not have gained any money, but you didn't lose any. So on a down year, zero becomes your hero. As a matter of fact, the green line is the only place for your money that is guaranteed not to lose money. Guaranteed not to lose money. You cannot find the word guaranteed in a 401k or a 403b, right? Well, who's it guaranteed by? Those companies that Brian so graciously showed us in the beginning. They've been around for over 100 years with billions of dollars in assets that don't actually have their money in the market. You know what? A little insult to injury. Guess what else we got to take out of the red line? Taxes, right? Which is, as we showed, is the biggest. It's going to take the biggest slice out of your pie. So, guys, do you think that taxes are going to be low? Well, here's a great little picture of what we're experiencing right now. So, whether you're a millennial or however long you've lived, you've now seen 4 to 6 of these down markets. Do you think we're going to see more? Absolutely. But let's talk about taxes. Do you think they're going to be lower, same, or higher in the future? Obviously, they're going to be higher. Why? Well, this is over the last 100 years. This graph here shows us that taxes have actually been, are right now lower than they've been in most of history. As the red bars show there, whether it's times of high debt or war or something like that, we're actually at a rate right now where it's lower than it's ever been.
That's right, Nate. You know, and we look at this and we say record debt, record deficit, and an unfunded liability for Social Security and Medicare. You know, $23 trillion right now and counting. We just added another $2 trillion for the coronavirus. It could be as much as another $6 trillion on top of that. But no one's talking about Social Security and Medicare. That, you know, we have an aging population. 76 million baby boomers now are taking money from the system, and they were putting money into the system. Now they're taking the money out. So there's tremendous stress for and tremendous pressure for tax rates to go up. In fact, most experts agree that in order to pay the benefits that have already been promised, no new benefits, what's already been promised, tax rates will have to double in the future. So why is that important, Nate?
Well, you know, everybody's deferring their taxes. This is the traditional wisdom that we were referring to with the 401k. Look, this is back in 2009, where they're saying it's a lousy idea, financial flop, the 401k that is, right? In reality, it's mutual funds. And here we are over 10 years later, and we're still using it. Well, why is that? Well, the 401k was made for rich CEOs at a time where they were in a high tax bracket, and they wanted to defer their taxes to when they would be in a lower tax bracket. But in reality, it's not even a good product for them. So yes, it is time to retire the 401k.
Absolutely. You know, if you look at this, you say, let's have some common sense, right? So what you've done is you avoid paying tax on the seed so that later on you pay on the harvest at what is almost certainly going to be a higher tax rate. When 401ks first started, people thought that they were, quote unquote, saving money on taxes. On average, they pay back 8 to 10 times more in taxes. That's not even assuming tax rates go up, which I think would be a foolish assumption. So Nate, tell us about the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, so this is the green line. We like to call it the Swiss Army knife because it serves so many purposes, right? So we're still talking about the same thing that we utilize, that it does so many different things. But in your lifetime, you're going to face one of three things. You're either going to die too soon, you're going to get sick, or you're going to live too long. Like that's a fact. We have to come to grips with that. Now, 7 out of 10 of Americans who reach the age 65 will experience one of the big three. So what happens if you get chronic, critical, or terminal illness? You should have access to money, right? And when I say access to money, right, your health insurance is going to cover a heart attack, stroke, and cancer, right? But who's going to pay? Who's going to pay for your mortgage? Who's going to pay for your rent? Who's going to pay for your car, your gas, your food? Those are the kinds of bills we're talking about. As a matter of fact, half of all bankruptcies, those people had health insurance. Half of them are all due to medical expenses, and they had health insurance.
Absolutely.
So same product, same account that we're showing you here that defeats in every single category defeats conventional wisdom. What if we could also show you how to get every penny in principal and interest on all your major purchases? That's right, purchases like cars, college, vacations, boats, even your home. Because let's be honest, what is the most powerful bank in the world? It's your bank, the Bank of Miguel, the Bank of Clinton, the Bank of Nick.
You know, Nate, this one idea for the average person is worth at least $500,000 in their lifetime. And I'm not talking about buying fewer cars. I'm talking about financing them different. Every time you write out the check for the boat, for the college, for the house, for the vacation, whatever, every single month you write out that check could be deposited in your account instead. You want to take this one, Nate?
Sure. So it's this is what we do: 6 steps to financial security. Basically, eliminate all the ways that people fail financially. So what do? We increase your cash flow, create an emergency fund, manage debt, manage and eliminate debt, ensure proper protection, build long-term savings, and protect and preserve your estate. We show you how to have zero debt, zero risk, zero tax, so you can have zero stress.
Nice job, buddy.
Yeah. So, guys, really why we got you on here is to educate you, but also to offer you a free, complimentary, right? No obligation analysis today, right? And Brian, you want to go ahead and finish this up?
Sure, I'll take it home. We're almost to the end here. Thanks for bearing with us on a Saturday. You know, no cost, no obligation. There might be a few ideas. Look, you know, sometimes tiny little changes and course correction compounded over time can add up to monumental, huge results at the end. So, you know, as we go to wrap up, I say, you know, I ask people all the time, you know, there's only one kind of money. Do you know what that is? You know, they say big money, they say green money, they say lots of different things. And I say, no, the correct answer is not enough money. Now, what if I were to tell you that we would like to fully fund, overfund all the bells, whistles, and accessories, your plan and your program, and it didn't cost you anything? Would you like that? Now, that's not exactly the way that it is, but it would be the same way as if you sent us referrals, we could fund your program for us. You become a part-time referral agent. There's a few things that you have to do in order to do that, but it's not that big of a deal. And we would pay for your plan and your program. In fact, not only do we want to overfund your program, we want to make your mortgage payments, your car payments, and even send your kids to school. And we want to send you and the family on vacation, right? You do enough referrals. What does it mean to do a referral with us? It means, hey, Joe, meet Brian. Brian's been doing great stuff for me and my family in the financial arena. I think it's somebody that you should consider talking to. That's a referral. That's all it takes right there. They do business with us as a part-time referral agent. You can get paid on that. What does that turn out to? Well, you know, your mileage may vary, but it could be a few $1,000s a year. It could be a few $1,000s a month. Depends on what you're going to do in the way of part-time referrals. By the way, when you refer those folks in, what I say to them is there's only one kind of money. You know what that is? Not enough money. If they become a part-time referral agent, you can also get paid on that. With a small team of people doing a little bit of business, it could be an extra $20,000 a year, could be an extra $20,000 a month. I'm not going to promise anybody a rose garden, but I think the whole world should be a part-time referral agent. The worst thing that could happen is someone comes into our business as a part-time referral agent and gets an education on money and finance. They do a few referrals, they get their own program for free. I don't see how you can lose. They do a little bit more, maybe they make a little bit more. Maybe they accelerate. Yeah, what if we're half right? You know, they accelerate their debts. You know, we have software programs that show if you put an extra $7,000 into a debt program, that thing skyrockets. That, you know, paying the debts off in half the time. Or we put an extra $7,000 into someone's financial freedom fund. I don't want to call it a retirement fund. Let's call it a financial freedom fund, which means you don't have to go to work if you don't want to. So that's where we go to wrap this up. You know, there is a license that is required to be an agent. The class is $59. The licensing for Florida, it varies by state, but for Florida is another $147.50. And we have an education license training reimbursement up to $1,000 that will reimburse you for all the cost of doing that. You know, what I say is, you know, if you have questions, if this piqued your interest and curiosity, get back to the person who invited you, get your questions answered. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. Maybe you want to become a client, a part-time referral agent, both, neither. But we do appreciate you spending the time with us here today. And I want to say, Nathan, you did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for participating today. And with that, we're going to sign off and shut off the recording. Nate, I don't know if you can turn off the recording for us.